What is up, YouTube? Today I was going to do another deck list, deck profile, whatever, but I was watching Joe and Jack from Omnipoke do a tier list video, and I decided I kind of want to also do that. I haven't put on codes yet on PTCGO, been a little bit busy with work and stuff this week, so we're going to try for Monday. Maybe if I put some codes on, maybe I'm going to wait for live. I don't know yet. I haven't decided yet. That's kind of a personal thing. But we're going to keep doing deck lists and stuff. But tier list, Fusion Strike, let's get into it. So I saw Joe and Jack from Omnipoke do a tier list video. I'm going to leave their video in the description below. Watch it. It was a lot of fun to watch. I respect the hell out of both of those guys. Yeah, and it was a lot of fun to watch. So they kind of made this tier list maker. I'll put a link to this as well in the description if you guys want to do your own. So we're going to kind of talk about like where I think, you know, S, A, B, C, D I think is like fine. I think we're going to go with this tier 1, tier 0, tier 2, tier 3, and binder. So the way I'm going to look at it is tier 0 I think is like probably the best deck in format. It's the deck to beat. You need to deal with it. Tier 1 is decks that are going to be able to compete with pretty much everything at the top. Tier 2 is like a couple wins, couple losses, kind of 50-50s. Tier 3 is like you probably don't beat too many, but it's kind of a meme deck and it can work. And binder is just like, dude, like put this away. Like I don't think this deck should even see play. Yeah. So let's jump right into it. Dragapult, Inteleon. That's going straight into tier 1. I think Dragapult doesn't gain any bad matchups from Fusion Strike. I think, yes, Gengar VMAX is released, but I don't think that deck is very good necessarily. I think having Dragapult in format is like a gatekeeper deck more than anything. It's a tier 1 1.5 deck because consistently it will always be able to utilize cards like Crushing Hammers. It's low energy cost and that spread damage to do a lot of damage, pepper a lot of things out of the board. With Inteleon Pings, it just makes it a really easy deck to facilitate, and it's a deck that always works well under Path to the Peak. I think Jolteon's tier 2, just because I don't think it's necessarily a tier 3 deck. I think there's a lot of decks that are just strictly better than it. Right now, its way to abuse the Cheryl engine is not really great. I think it just falls a little bit shorter of what it needs to be doing for a lot of stuff. And just because of that, I think, yeah, it can beat Mew, but I think you have to play escape ropes and stuff. But I think Mew with Dyna Barrier or whatever the attack is on Latias is like really, really good. Yeah. Bolton goes into tier 3, for my opinion. I think Bolton Flaffy is a really cool concept. I think it's like a flood the board with energy, but it is a lot of setup pieces. It is a lot of work to do what you're trying to do, and you just have a glaring fighting weakness. Like Urshifu runs through you. I think Dragapult should be able to do a big number on you as well. I think all the tier 1 and tier 0 decks have a good matchup into you, which makes me just apprehensive to play this deck in general. I just think a deck like that really should never flourish. Okay, I'm going to put decidueye and binder because decidueye usually has like some bad matchups and some good matchups, but I think every deck has a way to kind of deal with decidueye, whether it be Inteleon, whether it be Flaffy, whether it be like Latias, whether it be, I don't know, like there's just a bunch of cards that can kind of like shred, do something, get through, make magic happen in their own regard. So I don't particularly like decidueye to be even be seeing play right now. I mean, you might win a game or two at your locals if you know your local scene has like no answer for it. Maybe you play it, but yeah, Draladon tier 3. I just don't know why you would play this over any other single strike deck. It just seems like it's bad, like strictly bad. I think this deck is just like so the way I consider things is tier 0, 1 and 2 are like things I'd consider, and 3 is like one where I think like I wouldn't even probably consider it. Like it's equivalent to binder in my opinion. Tier 2 is like pushing my limits. Tier 3 eternities. I guess you get a good matchup in Mew, but the problem with Path to the Peak is not fixed still. You still take a fat L to Path to the Peak. You're so bad against Urshi. Yes, you get Umbreon. Yes, you have Moltres. But what are you doing with these pieces? There's like other decks where those core concepts just work better as they do. So I would put those there. Genesic Toxicity I think I put in tier 2 because I believe in Fusion Strike Supremacy. I believe in the fact that you can draw a billion cards, and I believe in Metal Saucer plus Power Tablet. I think it's a really cool combo. Toxicity reduces the thing for you. You get to probably even play an Oricorio. You can play like a 1/1 copy of Mew, maybe a baby Mew. I don't know. Like you have so many options to play into this deck. Yeah, I like this deck. This deck is cool. I think I'm gonna put Gengar VMAX in tier 3 in terms of single strike decks because I think it's probably like a tier 2.5 deck, maybe like leaning towards tier 2. But I think the reason I put it there is just because it Kind of doesn't do as well as the other Urshi, like single strike deck. And I think it just falls a little bit short. And I think that's going to be the problem over and over again. The recurring theme. You don't have a way to play capture energies. You're losing a lot of your important pieces. That gigantic one-shot potential. And the first attack doesn't do nearly enough. Yeah, Leafeon goes into tier 2. I think Leafeon's a little bit short of being really, really good, obviously. I think Leafeon V-Star could probably make that splash, pushing it into the top tier. The biggest problem where I drop Leafeon from tier 1 to 2 is that Mew VMAX has free retreat, and that's probably going to be one of the biggest decks to beat. So as soon as that happens, you have to kind of deal with that conundrum, this new like problem we've created. Like when a new deck like that gets introduced into the metagame, the ecosystem, you have to kind of like rethink about it, especially when it's a deck that's that good. And to that note, I do put Mew VMAX in tier 0. I think this is probably the best deck in the format right now. It's probably my most favorite deck to play right now. It's been kind of popping off across the board. Makes me feel really good about myself. I really like the deck. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. I just like it. It's a good deck. If you want to hear in-depth explanation on why, check out my deck list video. It'll do wonders. Next up is the Inteleon Cheryl deck. I think this goes in tier 1 because it does a lot of damage. It heals really well. It's kind of just a really annoying deck, and it's got a good typing weakness, so you kind of can do a lot all at once, and you can utilize cards like Path to the Peak super, super well, and the Inteleon engine and Octillery engine. So you have so many engines you can utilize really well with this deck, and you can heal pretty much every turn and keep chaining, and I really like that. Melanie Fu I put in tier 2. I think this doesn't beat like a lot of things like it does. I think it's a little more inconsistent than the other versions of Urshifu. I think Urshifu is just in a bad place right now metagame wise. But I can see this like walking the line between tier 1 and 2. So I'm going to put it in 2 for now. Sableye Weezing, probably tier 3. I don't know. I'm just going to put that in binder. Just don't play it, man. Like, I mean, I guess you can like, I'll put it in tier 3 just because you can body like genesic decks if they don't expect it, and all of a sudden they're like, draw engine is in shambles because you've rocked them. But then I don't know, it just takes one evolution and like they can just start clapping you. I don't get it. I think Shadow Rider's tier 1. I think Shadow Rider has been kind of on the decline in the metagame just because people have not been playing it. But I think Shadow Rider is like one of those decks that's always going to be good because of what it can do on the board and how quickly it can power up and how consistent it is. I think it'll consistently be a tier 1, 1.5 deck at worst because of what it does and because of how powerful it is in that regard. And with dark types kind of, I mean, Single Strike Urshifu beats it, but with other like dark types and like typings being better for it, it kind of falls into a good position. Single Strike Urshi, I think, still tier 1. I'm absolutely a huge fan of this deck. It's so powerful. It's got the typings. It's doing great. Yes. Sweet Ingredients, tier 3. I think it's a funny deck. I think you can play like gloves and stuff and just pick off Sobbles and pick off like, I don't know, small guys, but this doesn't do too much. Same with Ice Rider. I'm not a massive fan of Ice Rider in the deck either. I think it clunks it up. I think you like get really stuck in places. And then, but I do like the Ludicolo build, so that's going to go into tier 2 for me. I think Sylveon also goes into tier 2 for me because I am a huge fan of the toolboxy aspect of it, and you do get a couple of new cards like Basculin to kind of clean up games. So Rapid Strike gets like a small buff, and you can play cards like Adventurer's Discovery in this deck, and like, I don't know, get a bunch of your pieces all at once, and I really like that as well. Yeah, I think Togekiss goes into tier 3 just because it's going to be Binder. It's going to be Binder tier for now because I think you can't play Togekiss until we get all these like double energies, the Sharon's Care, like all these really cool cards we're going to get in V-Star. And knowing that, I don't think the deck is good right now, considering everything else is just better than it right now. And every deck plays like 3 to 4 Marnie. Yes, Mew VMAX does not. It's the one exception to the rule. But every other deck plays like heavy Marnie, heavy like Path. Like, it's just cards that will disrupt you consistently. It just makes it rough for you. And if you don't find your healing, it's hard. I think this deck from Joe and Jack is really cool. The Serena Signal Prizers, like whatever deck. But I think you're working way too hard to do something. It's funny, it's cool, but it's going into Binder. Victini probably tier... Dude, I don't know. I mean... I guess we can tier... No, I'm going to put that in tier 3. I think Victini just sucks. Has a lot of bad typings right now. It beats Leafeon, sure. But I think a lot of these decks up in the top tier, like, kind of just dumpster it. And that's, like, my main reason for not playing it. Like, I think Mew can just die in a barrier a bunch. Single Strike can just blow it up. Shadow Rider can just ramp up onto the board really quickly. Inteleon has weakness on it. Dragapult also can do a lot. And, like, Dragapult's just a better version of Victini, what it's trying to do. Yeah. Zoroark as Germinal Control. I think if you like Control, play it in tier 3. If not, it's Binder. That's how I kind of put it. And last but not least, Zacian goes into tier 2. But I think Zacian, Zamazenta loses a lot of good matchups coming up. And I think The fact that Mew VMAX and so, like Inteleon and these decks can like chain healing and just it's like two bad matchups for you coming into the field. And I feel like, or like they're unfavored. They're like they're bad in the sense that they're unfavored, and by that regard, I think exhaustion kind of takes a backseat to what else could be possibly good. Yes, so that is my tier list review. This is where I kind of think everything is right now. We'll come back and revisit this a couple weeks into Fusion Strike. I think it'll be really interesting to see if I'm right, if I'm wrong, if what's going on. I mean, obviously, certain streamers like Azul and Mahone, if they do well with the deck, it'll kind of pop into popularity as well, and that's like given. But that's my Fusion Strike set review. If you guys liked the video, comment, subscribe, like, you know the deal. I appreciate everyone. I'll see you guys on Monday for the next video, and peace out.